The Islanders start their quest for Stanley Cup title number 5 Thursday night against NHL newcomers, the Utah Hockey Club. So let's get you guys all caught up with everything hashtag Isles going into the new season with our New York Post Islanders beat writer Ethan Sears. My man, I ain't seen you in a long time, man. How you feeling? Are you ready to cover Islanders hockey for another year?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for having me, Brandon. Great to see you again.
All right, man, let's get straight into it because what's been blowing up on my timeline is this narrative about this team. And they haven't even hit the ice yet. So what do you think of this perception that the Islanders are a franchise that's stuck in neutral coming off another season without winning a playoff series and another off season without a complete overhaul of the roster?
Well, Brandon, I mean, like I wrote earlier this week, there's a degree of truth in it, but probably a lot less than there's been before. 2022, there were pretty much zero additions that they made in the offseason. Last year, the only difference on the roster compared to the last game of the playoffs was that Zach Parise had left. And this year, Cal Clutterbuck is gone. Matt Martin is essentially a practice player. They've added 2 new guys, Anthony Duclair and Maxim Siplikov, who are going to play in their top 6. That's obviously not a full-on overhaul. They're still a relatively older roster. They've still got a lot of the same guys. But, when you look at the salary cap situation they had coming into this offseason, when you look at the contracts they have, that's pretty much as much change as they could have made. And they made it, at the top of the lineup, so the idea that they did nothing this offseason is just not true. The lineup, it looks different from May, and more importantly, it looks better than it did in May.
Basically, just TV people, just talking just for retweets. But if there's one person I'm excited to see, Ethan, Patrick Roy. And what are your expectations for Coach since he's going to be behind the bench for all 82 games this year?
Well, really, it's just to build on what he did in 37 games in charge last season. The Islanders, they became a much better defensive team under him. So it's about keeping that up. It's about, maybe if they can find a little more offense and definitely kind of right the ship on special teams. Those new signings I mentioned, Duclair and Siplikov, should help in terms of balancing out the lineup, in terms of giving them a little more offense in that top 6. There's been a change in the assistant coaching staff. Tommy Alberline came in to replace Doug Huda, and he's going to run the penalty kill. That system is going to be a little bit different, which should the goal is to kind of rectify what was really their biggest issue last season. So that's going to be an early marker for how well things are going. But definitely this training camp, you've seen Waugh kind of put his imprint on everything. There's a big emphasis on physicality. They ended pretty much, I think every single practice ended with sprints. They had almost no days off. This was a really tough camp, and that was really the purpose of it. So, that's all great. They were really happy with how it went. But, now it's time to turn that into some wins.
Yeah, I'm glad guys were able to stay healthy as well during that training camp grind. We mentioned the off-season signings. We mentioned the importance of having Patty Y culture for all 82. But keep it 100 with me and all the Isles fans out there, man. Is that enough for the Islanders to be real contenders in a strong Metropolitan Division this year?
Well, certainly the Devils and Rangers are going to be favored to finish ahead of them and then probably to win the division. Most projections are going to have the Islanders probably fighting for that 3rd place spot along with the Hurricanes and, maybe the Penguins or the Capitals, depending how high you are on those teams. And I do think 3rd is probably a pretty realistic expectation for this season. The Devils and Rangers, at least on paper, probably look like they have a slight edge over the Islanders right now. But I do expect this regular season to be better overall than the last couple of years. This is not really a team that should need, 81 or 82 games to secure a playoff berth. And they should be, closer to challenging for the division title than they should be to missing the playoffs, even if they do end up in that 3rd place spot.
What are some of your biggest ifs surrounding this year's squad?
Yeah, well, I mean, the first thing, the biggest thing is the goaltending. Ilya Sorokin, he had back surgery in the offseason. He didn't join training camp until last week. He's not going to start the first game. That's going to be Semyon Varlamov in net tomorrow, but he is going to be on the bench backing up. Presumably he's going to play at some point in the first few games, so that's obviously a really good sign. But back surgery is not a small deal. So what's he going to look like, not only coming off that surgery, but coming off of a season where he didn't really perform up to his usual standard? He lost the starting job at the end of last season. He started just one playoff game and he got pulled from that game and really struggled. Varlamov is a really, really strong backup. He's totally capable of carrying the load for a while. And the Islanders are lucky to have him. But, Sorokin is in the first year of an 8-year contract. He's the franchise guy. He's getting paid like it. And the expectation is for him to be one of the best goalies in the league year in and year out. And a lot of this team is built on that sort of assumption and on that theory of winning. So, there's other things too, right? Can Duclair click right away? Can Siplikov sort of contribute in a meaningful way? Can he stick in that top 6 role? Was Oliver Wahlstrom the right guy to put on the roster for that last spot on the 4th line? Does the penalty kill work out? But Sorokin is pretty much eclipses all of those. That is far and away the biggest thing that's going to decide how their season goes.
All right, game 1 of 82 goes down at UBS Arena on Thursday night. For you and the rest of the media, hockey media out there, all eyes are on who and what and how do they start the new season off against a new team with a win?
Well, Duclair and Siplikov will be the two guys who I'm really watching closely. I want to see Duclair looked great on that top line with Matt Barzal and Bo Horvat throughout the preseason. So does that translate into real game action? Siplikov had a really successful camp. He's up on that second line. That's a show of faith in somebody who is making his NHL debut, who played in Russia last season. But does that, again, translate when it's the real thing? Can he be an impact offensive guy? And, in terms of kind of more general, it's just, can they play the sort of hockey that they've been practicing for the last month, right? Physicality, being defensively sound, breaking the puck out, all those sort of cliches that you hear during training camp. That is what you kind of want to see. And the teaching that happened in camp got through. So, Utah's a team that they're young. There's some excitement around them, obviously, with the move from Arizona. They've already got a win under their belt last night. They think they can maybe challenge for a playoff spot. So that should be a really good test for them right away. And I'm really interested and excited to see how that goes.
All right, we're all excited to see this new Islander squad step on the ice Thursday night against the Utah Hockey Club. Ethan Sears, thanks for hopping on with us, man.
You bet. Anytime. Thanks so much, Brandon.